we've told you what we know so far. This began around 5 o'clock this afternoon. One of our colleagues heard what, from his experience, sounded like as many as 10 shots from a semi-automatic rifle. We do not know if police have exchanged gunfire with anyone, but we do know, again, at the risk of being repetitive, that one of those DeKalb County police vehicles has been pierced by many, many bullets.
Right now, Clifton Road to Haygood to Briarcliff is all closed.
Okay. Clifton Road to Haygood to Briarcliff, all closed at this moment. Briarcliff, the main artery, and Fox 5 Atlanta, that's where our entrance is. We can see Courtney and Tom, lots of police right there on the sidewalk. And as you point out, they've gone into that CVS. But this does not seem to be over at this point. What's your interpretation?
And it is noteworthy and a relevant observation that you made, Russ, about the sort of the posture of these officers out on the street. 1 minute you kind of see them standing behind their vehicles. Something's rolling there on the road, and I don't know what it is, as Skyfox 5 kind of pans around and gives us some perspective of this scene. And then what's going on inside that CVS after the line of officers entered there.
Also, other businesses in that area surrounding that CVS, so no telling what efforts police may have had to make to try to clear that out and ensure that no one is in harm's way as they try to deal with whatever situation. Also looking here at the academic calendar for Emory, it looks like most students have not started classes yet. It looks like that starts mostly later this month. So perhaps one good thing is that it's not as crowded as it would be if school was in session right now.
So, and this CVS location, which is, again, if you're looking on the right-hand side of your screen, that is the CDC campus. Again, heavily guarded. Very fenced in, surveillance cameras everywhere. And then across the street, across Clifton Road, is the CVS kind of there in the corner. And then on top are residential apartments where folks from, Emory University and the surrounding area live, as well as retail shops. Don't know about the residents in their apartment units there, whether they were able to evacuate or they were also given a shelter-in-place order while police try to resolve the situation that we presume is happening based on what we've seen in these live pictures inside that drugstore. As we continue to look live here from Skyfox 5, the DeKalb County police officers staging there on Clifton Road, which is kind of a steep uphill as you approach the CVS. Russ, I'm wondering if you can glean any kind of information, if you will, on what's happening down there on the roadway. You said they have that whole section of Clifton shut down as they try to get to the bottom of the situation.
Yeah, I've been consulting with our news desk, and we're trying to get the latest information from the scene. We've just been told, as I reported earlier, that the FBI and APD have joined DeKalb on the scene, part of the dozens of officers that we see there. Clifton Road closed, obviously, in both directions. We see the phalanx of police there on the south side. Let me get my bearings correct. That would be actually the north side of what's happening. And then on the south side, more toward Emory University, there is another huge collection of police vehicles, some of which have been shot at by someone beginning around 5 o'clock this afternoon. We heard the gunshots. I didn't hear them specifically, but one of our colleagues, Rick Snyder, who joined us earlier in the newscast, described having heard at least 10 shots from a long gun, what he thought sounded like a semi-automatic rifle, and he has experience with these sorts of things. And in the last 10 minutes, we've seen police officers enter a CVS there. The report that went out to, the emergency alert that went out to people in the Emory area was that it was at the CVS. We don't have specific confirmation of that at this point, but we have been told that one DeKalb County police officer has been shot. We don't know that officer's condition at this point, but this clearly seems to be an active circumstance, and yet we're watching these officers, in some cases, standing in a way that would seem to put them in harm's way. Are we looking at someone carrying a stretcher? Is that what you see right there? That
looks
yellow
like,
in the
yeah,
middle of the
one of the boards where you would secure somebody
The board, yeah.
if they endured some kind of cervical or spine trauma. We'll have to get to the bottom of what's happening there. Right down the road, just for geographical perspective, is Emory University Hospital, which I imagine has also been placed on high alert for folks coming in and out of there. Good news is, if anybody has been injured, you are probably less than a quarter of a mile away from Emory University Hospital and the emergency room there, so medical attention not far away. As we watch this happening, and maybe in the control room we can do a big little box where we can keep this up, but play some sound of the immediate response to what happened here. Let's roll that video.
So you heard that, John?
We were seeing a number of officers going inside the CVS with the stopper.
What you're hearing there is sirens going off just after that alert went out, sent by Emory University, saying that there was an active shooter located near the campus and to run, hide, fight. This all unfolded, that alert going out just after 4 o'clock, and we're seeing a huge police presence centered around the CVS store located at Emory Point, which is located just across from the campus of Emory University and also quite near the CDC headquarters. And in the last half hour or so, as we've been on the air here, we have seen that large police presence continue to center around this CVS. And it looks like many of them have gone into the building now, some of them carrying a sort of a stretcher. We understand one DeKalb County police officer has been shot. We don't know the condition of that person right now, but again, it's been outlined that they are quite close to Emory University Hospital, so unclear whether they're trying to transport that person now to get care.
Yeah, on that note, we have Fox 5's Kim Loeffler, who's standing by at Grady Memorial Hospital, the Level 1 Trauma Center for our area, where gunshot victims are taken for treatment. Kim, what can you tell us about what you're seeing there and the response over at Grady right now?
Well, in about the last 2 or 3 minutes, we saw several officers start to kind of come out of right outside of Grady here. Almost looks like they are waiting for an ambulance to arrive. We've seen several ambulances come, none with their lights on just yet. We've been kind of watching to see if anyone would be coming over here to Grady. And again, just in the last few minutes, we have seen these officers come out here again, waiting. It appears that they're waiting for an ambulance to arrive. We have not seen any come at this point, but we certainly keep our eye out. But again, it does look like they are waiting at this point for someone to come here.
Okay, Kim, thanks. Keep us posted with what you're seeing there at Grady. As we take a look at live pictures here on the right side of your screen, that police vehicle, which has a lot of liquid coming out of it, coolant or fuel or whatever, we understand that one of the vehicles of DeKalb County Police was struck and riddled with gunfire, indicating that the shooting suspect may have been training their rifles at police, because now we know that one officer has been shot. Where that officer is being treated, whether they're at Emory University or being transported to Grady Memorial Hospital, we still don't know, but this has been an extremely active situation with a lot of moving parts.
That is for sure. We understand at this hour, at least Clifton Road has been shut down. You see there's no traffic getting through. At one point, there were so many police officers just standing there in the road, but it does appear Clifton Road is still closed. Our assignment desk is still working to let us know exactly which streets are shut down, but at one point, we were hearing that there were more streets shut down as they form a sort of a perimeter around that area. So when we get those exact streets, we'll let you know on that.
Let's get out to Fox 5's Russ Spencer in the newsroom, who's been collecting information, talking to our own employees here at Fox 5. Russ, we're just a stone's throw away from where all of this is happening.
Yeah, we're hearing lots of radio traffic, Courtney and Tom, and we're not going to report things that we haven't yet confirmed, but it does appear that things on the scene have changed somewhat, and we heard Kim say that they're expecting some people to arrive someone to arrive at Grady Memorial Hospital, at least one person. We'll see what happens as this circumstance develops. I'm going to share with you a safety alert from the City of Atlanta Police Department that I guess at this point states the obvious, but I'll read it to you. The Atlanta Police Department is responding to reports of an active shooter in the area of Emory University near 1760 Clifton Road. Please avoid that area. So as you have both pointed out, Clifton Road blocked in both directions. Police cars there in the foreground and also in the background around the corner, and that's where the CVS is, where police entered. And those police officers do not appear to be taking cover at this point. We're going to find out perhaps in short order why that is the case. But this is a wider picture from Sky Fox 5, give you a sense of where we are here in Northeast Atlanta. Fox 5 is on Briarcliff Road, and the parking lot of Fox 5 and the back of the building faces the CDC. As we go out to our cars, at the end of the day, we can see the CDC building right there, and it's on the other side of the CDC is what we're looking at here. This Emory Point is right across Clifton Road from the CDC. All right, now what we're looking at is pictures from earlier. I described to you when police were on the scene. This is the police car that was riddled with the bullets. This is earlier video from probably 15, 20 minutes ago. So I don't want you to be thinking that we're looking at live pictures again. Our chopper has to go refuel. That is something that they have to do, and that's what they're doing right now. But this gives you a sense of what it looked like about 15 or 20 minutes ago when police were taking cover behind that DeKalb County police SUV and cover behind that dumpster there when it was still an active shooter situation. Now, I can't tell you that it's no longer an active shooter situation with any definitiveness, but it appears that things have changed in that respect. And when we have confirmation about that, we're going to certainly report it to you, Tom.
Yeah, you know, Russ, if you hang with us 1 second, we always, in these types of situations, wonder about the why and why this is happening at this particular CVS in this particular area, located right across the street from such a high-profile building like the Centers for Disease Control. This was the scene from earlier.
Okay, you're looking at live pictures now. Sorry to interrupt, Tom, but we have now confirmed that that officer has been taken to Grady Memorial Hospital. We were told by Atlanta Police it was confirmed that one DeKalb police officer had been shot. And now we're seeing quite a bit of activity there at Grady. Obviously, a rush to get that officer the care they need, and unclear what kind of condition that person may be in. But you can just tell from the urgency and the number of police there on scene that it is a serious, potentially serious situation.
All right, we understand not only an officer transported to Grady Hospital, but also another possible victim. And our Kim Loeffler is standing by witnessing all of this. Kim, what more can you tell us about who is arriving there?
Well, I just spoke with one of the officers that we saw out here on scene, and he confirmed with us that the officer who was hit over by the location, by our station, over by the CDC, is coming here to Grady. He also said that there was another person who was also hit. We don't know the extent of those injuries right now, but it does appear that the other person, at least with the information that we have right now, is a civilian. But at this point, that we just got the information confirmed that that officer is coming to Grady right now. At this point, we do not believe he's arrived at this point. Of course, we'll keep you updated, but that officer, we're told, is coming here to Grady.
All right, typically, Kim, when a police officer is transported to Grady after being shot, a huge police presence from multiple jurisdictions show up there. Have you seen any other police activity?
Well, we have been here for the two MARTA police officers who were injured in a shooting overnight. So there has certainly been a police presence on scene right here. I see Clayton County Sheriff's vehicle there. I know that vehicle has been here with us throughout the day. And we just saw a couple of other officers again in the last 15, 20 minutes or so kind of come out, waiting outside of Grady here, waiting for the ambulance to arrive. But again, that's only been the last 15-20 minutes that we have seen them here on scene, but there has been a police presence here all day because of those 2 other officers who were injured in the shooting last night.
All right, Fox 5's Kim Leffler monitoring the situation over at Grady, where we understand that at least 1 police officer and a civilian victim are being transported after gunshots ring out at the CVS right across the street from the Centers for Disease Control. This is the scene right now at Emory Point CVS, where multiple police vehicles there are on the roadway. That whole corridor, that Clifton Road corridor, normally a very busy roadway because Emory University Hospital and the CDC are right there. And this all would have happened right at the time when employees of the CVS were, CDC were probably letting out after work today.
Yeah, around 5 o'clock. Let's get out to our Eric Perry, who has just arrived there live at the scene. Eric, a lot of activity happening there right now. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Courtney, Tom, hello to both of you. So this is as far as that I can get, but I am going to take my camera around. Take a look at the amount of law enforcement. This is, of course, heading up toward the CDC. There is a personal care home to my left of me, but all you can see is a sea of blue heading up this direction. You have cars from all over. As I was driving in from Midtown Atlanta, I'm going to move out the way as some more people are coming through there. You can see Gwinnett County Police. I see Atlanta Police. Of course, the cab is here as well. When I was coming in, I saw Sandy Springs from all over, and then up above, you can see helicopters from all different jurisdictions and ambulances from Grady. 2 of them went up not too long ago from here. And if I turn back this direction, of course, you can just see how many police officers and law enforcement vehicles are racing down through here all the way up to where there is a QT at Clifton Road there. And then this is the road that's coming down, heading toward the CDC as well. And then just off this path as well, just a sea of blue as well. As my photographer is closer or further up that hill, closer to where that initial scene is. But unfortunately, this is as far as I can get as they're working to get law enforcement officers up through here. And you can see a couple of people starting to pull or question. I'm going to go over there in just a minute and ask them a few questions. But Courtney, Tom, just want to show you the immense amount of law enforcement officers. I have covered many mass shootings in my career here, and this might be one of the most police presence, heavy police presence that I've seen in my near decade of reporting.
All right, Eric Perry live there on scene. Eric, if you're still with us and you could hear us, tell me about the demeanor of these officers. Of course, we all want to know if the situation has been resolved yet, something we don't know or have not confirmed, but what are you getting in terms of the demeanor of those officers and whether this might be over or not?
You know, when I first pulled in about 10 minutes ago, absolute serious. Cars were racing in, they were getting out with their guns, and then they were running up this hill to go to this scene that's up there as well. My friend here in DeKalb County wouldn't let me go any further as well. I tried to get up there as well, but he just didn't know the situation. And of course, that just goes to the severity and the seriousness of all of this. Right now, I don't see much movement, but I do see more officers slowly starting to trickle in here. But about 5 to 10 minutes ago, it was all hands on deck as they were running up. There was some sort of a siren that I heard. It sounded like an alarm that sounded off, and we saw a force moving toward that scene closer. I'm not sure exactly what that was, if that was an all clear, but I have been told that there have been several command units, of course, a major scene like this, several command units as well that was going up through there as well. So it seems to have leveled out just a little bit, but of course still very serious.
Yeah, and Eric, as you made your way to that area, in terms of the traffic situation, did you encounter a lot of roadblocks, and did you see a lot of people that were maybe having trouble traveling throughout the area as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, it is Atlanta, so there is traffic even in the smallest or latest of hours. But I'm going to point this direction as well, because, of course, people were taking that right down as well, and there were just so many law enforcement officers that were making their way here that we all just had to stop and let the droves of officers come in. The Sea of Lights goes all the way up. I believe that's a Pig and Chick, a pretty popular barbecue spot that is closer up there to that QT. Officers are parked all the way up there. To the left is that Kroger. I saw some parked over there as well. And then if you look to the right here, here, you can see just the amount of police officers, or the sea of police officers, all throughout this small back road, and there's still some more starting to come in as well. So if you are in this area of DeKalb County right here, you need to avoid it. There were so many traffic, and they're still going to be coming in and out. And again, I saw about 3 Grady ambulances making their way up through there around 5 o'clock, and that was a priority. So of course, if they come back out through here, I'll be sure to show you as well.
Fox 5's Eric Perry. Eric, we're going to let you get oriented there on the scene, try to gather some more information for us as this situation continues to unfold. I want to bring back in Fox 5 anchor Russ Spencer, who's been bringing us information from our assignment desk and our own employees here at Fox 5 who kind of witnessed through earshot, Russ, right in the back of our parking lot, which butts up to this entire area, exactly what happened. But as I toss out to you, what a remarkable scene to see from Clifton Road on Clifton all the way up to that CVS and the CDC lined with police vehicles.
Someone speaking in my ear. I can see that you were talking and getting ready to ask me a question on live television, and I apologize that I didn't hear it. But let me just recap a little bit what has happened. It's 5:45. This began about 45 minutes ago. One of our colleagues here at Fox 5 walked out onto the parking lot here in the back of Fox 5, which is about 500 yards from this shooting scene, and actually heard the gunfire. Described it as what sounded like a long gun, maybe 10 or 12 shots, and ran back into the building breathless, knowing that something terrible was happening somewhere. Now, our initial assumption that we did not report, because we don't report assumptions, but everyone was afraid that perhaps because of some of the politics surrounding the CDC, that perhaps this was happening at the CDC itself. It became very clear within a short amount of time that, in fact, it was at the CVS across Clifton Road, right across the street from the entrance to the CDC. And we saw police officers from Sky Fox 5 huddled behind a DeKalb County Police SUV that had been riddled with bullets. Apparently, we don't know whether that is particularly the scene where an officer was shot, but we do know that an officer was shot and is arriving at Grady. And I'm going to turn it over now to Fox 5's Kim Luffler, who's at Grady, if we can do that technically, because what I've been told is that Kim has some new information about that officer. Is that right, Kim?
We just spoke with some of the public safety officials here on, and we're told that the officer was loaded into the ambulance over by the CDC. The officer told me that information a little over 5 minutes ago, and we're told that the officer is coming here to Grady for treatment. So we expect the officer to arrive here in probably around 15-20 minutes or so. But that public safety official also told me that in addition to that officer, there is another person hit. It does appear that that is a civilian, but that is unconfirmed right now. It did not appear that it was another officer, just another person who was hit. But again, we have learned that the officer has been loaded into the ambulance, and we do expect that officer to arrive here in about the next 15 minutes or so.
All right, Kim, thanks very much. Tom has pointed out that Emory University Hospital is right down the street. Grady Memorial Hospital is a level 1 trauma center. Read into that what you will. We don't know anything about the condition of the officer at this point, and we'll report it to you as soon as we do. But at this point, Clifton Road is obviously closed and will remain closed for quite some time as this active shooter situation continues. We saw DeKalb Police, Atlanta Police enter that CVS. We don't know what happened inside there. We're working our sources to try to get that confirmed. But again, look at this enormous police presence. Eric Perry made the point, and I'll echo it. It's been a long time since I've seen that many police officers in one place at one time. A crime scene tape all over the place there on Clifton Road. The FBI also on the scene. And again, just to emphasize, one officer, a DeKalb County officer, has been shot, and apparently a civilian as well. Tom and Courtney, back to you. As soon as we have any new information from the desk, I'm going to walk over there now, and I'll share it with you as soon as I have anything new.
All right, we'll see you in a bit, Russ. Thanks. As we continue to focus here on the scene centered around this Emory Point CVS, we're now getting this update from Atlanta Police in the last 5 minutes, tweeting out that as of right now, this is still an active scene. So take from that what you will, but the very large police presence there, still focusing there on that CVS. And our Eric Perry is there on the ground painting a picture that police don't seem to be as urgent as they were when we saw them closer to the top of the hour. But still, there is a large police presence there. So Atlanta police referring to it as an active scene. Don't know if that means that this is still ongoing, but we'll just wait for further clarification of that.
And so one is left to wonder if the situation inside that CVS, where we saw officers with their rifles drawn, lined up, entering that store not too long ago, is concluded. But not lost on all of this is the location of where all of this is happening. It's a very, very high-profile location, not only with one of the country's largest universities and hospitals sitting right down the street, but you have the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention directly across the street from where all of this is going on, a heavily guarded fortress with its own security apparatus. And so, you know, one can only be grateful, perhaps, if something like this is to unfold, that a police response would be robust and quick. Now, again, whether or not they've resolved the situation, we're just speculating at this point. You could see it's still a very active scene with police and emergency vehicles, fire trucks, and ambulances lined up all the way. And if you're familiar with the area, Briarcliff Road and North Druid Hills and North Decatur Road, pardon me, flank Clifton there. And there are police vehicles which literally go from Briarcliff all the way up to the CVS where all this is unfolding. We understand that at least one police officer and one civilian victim are being transported to Grady Memorial Hospital. Their conditions are unknown at this hour.
And now we're getting live pictures back from Sky Fox 5. It just left to refuel, and now it's coming back here to the scene. Just to underscore, Tom, what you said, that there is just a huge police presence lining the street all the way back. You see on Clifton Road, focus there, and now we're getting just a closer up view. That is a look at some of the police officers that are there at the entrance to the CVS. And again, unclear whether this is still, the Atlanta police are referring to this as still an active scene.
It's safe to say
looks
those
active in terms of the number of law enforcement that are still there, but we're not sure what that means in terms of whether this is just an effort to get the injured officer and that civilian to the hospital, or if there's still some kind of threat that needs to be neutralized.
Let's get out to Fox 5's Russ Spencer, who, as we speak, it sounds like, Russ, you're getting some more information for us. What more do you know?
Yes, it's partial information, Tom and Courtney. What we know at this point is that someone on the scene has died. We do not know who that person is, but we have seen a body pulled out of that CVS. We saw this from Sky Fox 5. We have video of it, and we're going to be sensitive to viewers and not show the video that we have of the body under a sheet, except perhaps from a distance. But we have seen a person's body pulled out of the CVS there at the corner at Clifton Road, just across the street from the CDC, and it is now under a sheet. And the police officers who were protecting themselves behind the dumpster and taking cover in the parking lot across the street are now standing there. So I cannot report to you that this situation, this active shooter situation, is over, but just assessing the behavior of the police officers, it would seem to the circumstances there have changed on the scene. Eric Perry is there. Eric, what can you tell us from your vantage point?
Hey, Russ, so you're not going to see my face. I'm going to work my camera around because this is as far as police will allow me to go. You made a very good point earlier. I just want to kind of show you from Clifton Road all the way up to Briarcliff Road is just a sea and a line of lights. As more police officers, more law enforcement are coming down. About 10 minutes ago, I did see two Grady ambulances heading up to that direction, that CVS, which is right across from the CDC campus, and the entranceway, that main entrance, is just over that hill. You can also see, I'm seeing that express bus, which probably just running a routine route, was trapped here, and that just kind of goes to show just how traffic was during this time. A lot of cars were having to turn around. They can't go any further than this intersection right here as well. But we're also starting to see some officers going, some are still coming back. You see some people who were just over here at the time, they tell me that they didn't really see or hear anything, but of course this is as far as that they can go, and their destination is up that hill. You can see those helicopters. One
of the CDC, and it is still, according to Atlanta police, an active shooter situation. When we have confirmation that it has changed, we will pass it on to you. Tom, I have one last thing here I want to pass on to you from, okay. The officer apparently has been moved to the operating room. That is the latest that we've been told. The officer taken to Grady Memorial Hospital, and Emory University Hospital, I apologize. And we will keep you up to date as soon as we have information on that officer's condition, and we understand one other person has been shot. Let's toss now to Kim Luffler. She's at Grady Memorial Hospital. Kim, what can you tell us there?
Well, we just learned from Emory officials that that officer was taken, as you mentioned, to Emory University Hospital. We're still waiting. We still have not seen any ambulances arrive at this point. We are still seeing some law enforcement presence, some public safety presence outside of Grady right now. But we are still waiting for ambulances to arrive. But again, we have learned that that officer was taken to Emory University Hospital for treatment.
All right, Kim, thank you very much. Again, this is happening at Emory Point on Clifton Road, which is closed in both directions. Tom and Courtney, I'll send it back to you and go back over to the desk myself. Try to get some new information and share it with you as soon as we do.
All right, Russ, thanks for the latest from where you are in our newsroom. Literal eyewitness accounts here at the television station. Our parking lot backs up to this area, so it's only a stone's throw away. Our marketing director, Rick Snyder, going out to his car, hearing those gunshots coming from that area. It makes sense that these shooting victims would be brought to Emory. It's less than a quarter a mile away from this scene. Literally, you could walk it from that CVS over to the emergency room.
Of course, the proximity makes so much sense, even with Grady Memorial being the level 1 trauma center where you would normally be transported. We're still seeing pictures, so much sense, even with Grady Memorial being the level 1 trauma center where you would normally be transported. We're still seeing pictures here live from the ground. You're just seeing that absolutely massive police presence still there. Our Eric Perry is bringing us some of these pictures. We've also got a photographer there on the scene, and just detailing the amount of people that have converged there, even as that officer is transported. Just so many questions still unanswered as the situation continues to develop. This all started just after 5 o'clock. Emory University had sent out an update, an alert, telling people that there was an active shooter situation and they should run, hide, fight. That was when we started to get the reports about the shots fired, and then you saw just a huge amount of law enforcement start to focus around the CVS building. Now we're hearing sirens go off, and it's unclear why. We had heard sirens go off also just after 5 when this situation first started, so it's not clear why they're going off again now.
Yeah, it's Eric Perry, we have your camera, wondering if we have you as well. What more can you tell us about what we're hearing out there?
Yeah, I want to take a pause. Take a listen to this. There is a siren that I mentioned earlier. It went off again, and then when that goes off, I see law enforcement starting to move up. And then you asked if there was still a presence or people coming in. Well, probably about 5 minutes ago, that DeKalb police SWAT vehicle pulled up as well. See some people starting to get off. This is a drone team that I've learned. It looks like they're with the fire department. I saw a drone go up and go over the scene as well. We've seen some helicopters flying very, very low. I'm still very curious, and I'll ask around about that siren. Not sure if that's something on the campus of CDC or Emory or what have you, but you can hear that siren very loudly. And this is the second time since I've been here we can hear that type of siren. And then also you can see that DeKalb Police SWAT vehicle that just pulled up as well. And again, just an immense presence as you can see. This is going up to Clifton Road, if you're familiar where that barbecue spot is, Pig and Chick. And then there's a QT on the other side as well here. And then just still an immense presence as people are coming in and going out. And that siren is lasting longer than the last time as well. And I can see some other officers running up to the scene as well. Courtney, Tom.
Yeah, perhaps indicating, Eric, that this situation isn't over because, as you said, that siren is wailing much longer than the first one, which initially alerted us. We can hear that siren here in our studio. Just to give you an idea of how close Fox 5 is to this scene and why our marketing director was able to hear those long gunshots go off when this whole thing unfolded just before 5 o'clock this evening, right when that CDC campus would have been letting out for the evening those 9-to-5ers who work there. Obviously, it's a 24-hour operation. But just to kind of set the scene for you there, as we're looking live from Skyfox 5, this all unfolded in the CVS drugstore, which is right in the middle and the top of your screen, the entrance to the drugstore there, and directly across the street from the CDC, the entrance of which is right across the street there. You can see the entrance to the CDC. We've seen officers with their guns drawn enter that drugstore. We've seen them staged there on Clifton Road, which is shut down and lined with a sea of officers. And we have unconfirmed reporting now, though visual reporting from what we've seen from Skyfox 5 of a body being brought out of the CDC, covered in a sheet. Who that individual is, we just don't know.
Yeah, don't know, but we're working.
For us from the newsroom. Russ, what do you know?
We have one more data point, Tom and Courtney, that I want to share with you, and we have a picture that I will share with you as soon as we have it ready to put on television. But we have a picture from inside the CDC of a broken window that had been shot at. Now, it raises the possibility that perhaps the CDC was one of the targets of what happened this afternoon that began about an hour ago here in Northeast Atlanta. Perhaps it was a stray bullet, but the CDC was shot at. We have pictures of the bullet holes from inside the building showing the workspace area and the window that had been broken by that gunshot this afternoon at the CDC. So what we have reported is that this was located primarily at the CVS. Whether the shooter was standing on the sidewalk there and fired in the direction of the CDC, we do not know at this point. But the police officers, we saw that DeKalb County police car that was riddled with bullets. That was sort of down the hill, and that's not in the direction where this building that was hit is located. That's more, actually, from the shooter's perspective, would have been to the left across Clifton Road. So some of this is supposition, so I take that for what it's worth. But what we do know, and we'll show you the picture as soon as we have it produced here and are prepared to put it on TV, is that a window was pierced by a bullet at the CDC this afternoon. That's the new information.
And so we talked about, Russ, just the proximity of these high-profile institutions across the street from the CVS, which you and I and Courtney and frankly everyone in this building has probably been in and out of on multiple occasions. It is a busy drugstore because of the corridor that lines Clifton Road there. As we wait that picture so we can show you, not known right now is whether this was just erroneous gunfire that wound up over on the CDC campus because of the proximity to the CVS, or whether, as you say, it was possibly an intended target. That information is just not known at this hour. As you take a live look at the scene from Skyfox 5, and I'll tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at the CVS drugstore there on the left side of the road, and then the CDC right across the street, and the police vehicles there lining each side of the drugstore and the scene where all of this unfolded.
Yeah, and also just to put a finer point on it, you're not seeing it there in the picture from Skyfox 5, but just above where you're seeing the picture cut off, to the right-hand side across Clifton Road from the CVS entrance there is actually a daycare center that services employees of the CDC and of Emory, quite a few institutions there in that area. So it's unclear whether that daycare center was in service at the time, but I'm looking here at their website and it says they normally operate from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that would be within the zone of when this was all going on. Of course, we're not getting any reports that this daycare center was affected in any way, but it is quite close to where this is all happening.
Yeah, not to mention there's an assisted living facility just down from that on Clifton Road toward Briarcliff, Bud Terrace and other Emory-sponsored assisted living and recovery centers where folks are. And of course, you have the massive hospital. These are pictures, we believe, of the CDC window, which was struck by gunfire. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here just because of the level of security over at the CDC and speculate that these are bulletproof windows. But look at the shatter in that window, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very scary. It looks like those are cubicles located right next to where the bullet hole is in the glass there, and it looks like it's on a higher floor as well.
Yeah, that's what strikes me, Courtney, exactly. That's a higher floor. That's if you don't mind my saying so, it does not look like a stray bullet up in that direction. If someone was pointing it at police officers, a bullet would not have hit that building at that altitude. It wouldn't seem.
Yeah, and it would take a certain type of firearm to reach a level that is above the ground floor and that kind of impact. So.
Yeah, and so some extraordinary visuals here of the impact that an alleged bullet from a rifle or a long gun caused to that is perspective from the CDC itself. You can see employee cubicles there, which looks like it's kind of high above the scene where all of this happened. As we continue our coverage of the shooting at the CVS drugstore on Clifton Road across from the Centers for Disease Control, this photo just into the Fox 5 newsroom of an impact of a bullet at the window of the CDC. We know there has been at least one fatality here, a body carried out of the CVS drugstore, which we saw just a short time ago, and police activity, which has not let up, by the way. This has been a solid hour and 10 or 15 minutes or so police activity along the Clifton Road corridor from Briarcliff Road all the way, you can imagine, to just about the Emory University complex. And if you're familiar with this area, there's a nursing school which sort of begins Emory University there, and then it kind of unfolds to the old children's hospital and then the main hospital of Emory Healthcare.
Yeah, and we understand both Emory University and Emory University Hospital have been placed on lockdown as this is all unfolding. I wouldn't be surprised if those lockdowns extend to other buildings within this area. There are retail stores, restaurants, many businesses. It's a rather densely populated area as well. So unclear what kind of measures police have taken to establish a perimeter, but they've also shut down Clifton Road, several other roads in the area also. We also saw on our air in the last hour a car belonging to DeKalb police that had been looked like had been shot and was leaking fluids from the car. There were just so many points of interest where police were congregating, also around the entrance. They were hiding behind a dumpster at one point, and then we reported that a body had been removed from the CVS building in the last half hour or so.
And I don't know if Skyfox 5 can hear us. There was a white vehicle in front of the CVS that had all the doors and the trunks open, wondering if that was somehow related to this scene. Right at the entrance, Skyfox, if you can pan up a little bit. Yes, there it is. This was a white vehicle that I noticed earlier. The hood open, doors open. You know, speculation at this point whether that might be related to the scene or not. We're being really discreet with our live pictures here, just based on what we've seen coming out of that drugstore. So we want to be really respectful of the process here as authorities continue to swarm and surround not only the CVS, but Courtney, as you mentioned, there's retail stores in there and an apartment complex, which is right on top of the CVS drugstore. So how residents were impacted or how they were told to keep themselves safe, we just don't know at this hour. But the latest reporting is, and we're wondering, since Grady Memorial Hospital is a level 1 trauma center, if the shooting victims, which we know are at least one police officer and at least one civilian victim, we're going to be transported to Grady Memorial Hospital. But with Emory University only feet away, the emergency room there, it just made more sense for emergency responders to transport those victims there. One is in surgery, we understand. We presume it's the DeKalb County police officer who was shot, and we're working to learn more about his or her status at this point.
We've also seen a presence from the FBI there on scene, and they just released this statement saying that they're aware of the incident and are coordinating with their local partners for any assistance. So just underscoring how big this police presence really is. Let's get out to our Eric Perry. He's been there on the ground. Eric, what can you tell us as this situation continues to develop?
Yeah, since the last time I talked, Courtney, Tom, hello to both of you. I've seen FBI presence here on the scene walking up as well. I've also seen just still the same in and out Georgia State Patrol. I've seen Pine Lakes Police Department, Chamblee. You can see there's a little K9 as well here on the scene that's walking down from this as well. They're still holding us here, but you can still see an immense presence. This is stretching all the way up to Briarcliff. Tom, I believe you mentioned that nursing facility, and I believe that is what is to the right of me here as well. So there's several offices and different things associated with Emory right here, the 1817 building here on Clifton. And again, we can hear helicopters that sound very close to the ground as well. So again, an immense presence that's been here on the scene. You can still see officers coming in and out. And again, up above, you can see a helicopter that is pretty close to the ground coming in and out. You can't go further than this.
Okay, looks like we're having some trouble.
They say that they are with,
All right, Eric, we lost you for a sec, but we have you back. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been working the sources, so I'm using my phone just in clarity because my photographer, Scott Simpson, is closer to the scene. So whenever I get a call from some of my sources trying to call around to see if we can get some updated information, I did talk to someone. They live above those apartment complex, so they sent out a statement saying, you know, that it is an active shooter. They don't know much information, but they're trying to get back up there to their apartment complex, which is above that CVS, and of course several different areas as well. And this is a drone unit that they've been in the drone, so they're using every resource possible here on the scene as they're still going in and out. We've seen SWAT, and again, I saw FBI agents here on the scene.
Eric, quick question for you, if you can hear us. You had mentioned that they were using that drone, that they were flying that up and over the CVS. Just to clarify, is that something that you've seen happen in the last 10, 15 minutes or so?
No, I've seen it in the last probably 20 minutes. It looks like, I can't tell, it might be Atlanta Fire that's been using this, but they've been out here since I've been out here, and I've been out here for probably a good 30 minutes or so, and they have that all the way up, but I haven't seen it return, so that drone is still, presumably, still up in the air.
What do they,
flying
Eric,
over.
what do they use the drone for? Do you know? I mean, have you seen police dispatch drones before in situations like this?
So yes, when I was out at Appalachia High School, they used a drone as well. A lot of times they can get just that aerial view. It can get a little closer than the helicopters that they can use up as well. They can also use it, I've seen it in different fire situations, but the heat sensor, so if there are any other bodies or any other presence that's inside of maybe that CVS or any of the buildings nearby, they can use that technology there, which is really relatively new, but really important to see and kind of scope out so they don't have to put the lives of the officers going inside. They can use that drone and the heat sensors to see if there are any bodies or any presence inside of a building before they make initial contact inside as well. Not sure if that's what they're using this for in particular, but that's what I've seen used in past situations similar to this.
Okay, Eric, thanks for that perspective there from the ground. And we're also just seeing another update in the last 15 minutes from Emory saying to continue to shelter in place, just letting people know that law enforcement is on scene. If you're in the area, you don't need to be told. I mean, you can clearly see it.
And we heard the siren. We heard it here in the studio, the siren wailing just over at the Emory campus and the CDC. Fox 5's Russ Spencer joining us from the newsroom once again. Russ, we understand you have some new information for us.
Yeah, just some new perspective from our colleague in Sky Fox 5. Again, this is officially still an active shooter situation, but our colleague in the helicopter has been watching this situation evolve over the last more than an hour now. And in the last 15 minutes or so, not only have we reported that there is a body under a sheet outside that CVS, he says, in his estimation, it appears that police are now in investigative mode, not in active shooter mode, and that Atlanta police helicopters have now left the scene. So take that for what you will. It is a developing situation, but apparently they are investigating now as opposed to being in an active shooter posture. Bullet holes, this is new information, bullet holes in buildings 21 and 24 of the CDC, and possibly building 18. And we are expecting more photos to come into the Fox 5 newsroom, and this would seem to suggest that this was not an accident. This was not a stray bullet that hit the CDC. We're looking at the broken window there from the inside at what appears to be a floor not near the ground. I can't tell from this vantage point whether it's the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th floor, but there are many floors in some of those buildings, tall buildings there at the CDC. And bullet holes in 2 and perhaps 3 of them. So it would appear, this is based on just common sense, that the CDC was perhaps a target of this shooting. We did not know that before. The CVS seemed to be the focal point, but perhaps this began as an attack on the CDC. We will find out as the evening develops. Courtney,
We've been, we've just been pointing out, the proximity of the CDC, which has just, been on everyone's mind lately with all that's been happening. It's sitting right there. If you've ever driven by the CDC, and Russ, Courtney, you certainly know this, it is just a fortress, basically. It's you can't get in there if you're not supposed to be in there. So, the only way this perhaps could have happened was from a distance. And if you look at the impact of that window, that was one very, very powerful firearm that penetrated or almost penetrated that window.
It would have to be. We understand our Deidre Dukes has arrived on scene. Deidre, tell us your exact location and what you're finding out right now.
We are joining you live along Cliftondale Road, just off of Houston Mill Road. Still a very active scene here right now. As you can see from the pictures that we're showing you, you have dozens of police cars lining Clifton Road. You have officers who are rerouting traffic around this area. Just up the street where you see the sea of blue lights is where the CDC, the area of the CDC and that CVS that you all have been referencing is located. Just down the hill hill here just past the side of our camera is where Emory Hospital is located. We have still seen, even now, even though the immediate threat does appear to be over at this point, we still have officers arriving here on scene with lights flashing, sirens blaring. We have also seen some FBI respond here in military garb, and military vehicles arrive on scene just a short time ago. Now, I have had a brief conversation with an Atlanta police spokesperson. They are at this hour still gathering information, and they are in the process of setting up a staging area where the media will, of course, gather and will get more information. But from what I am hearing, we are at the point where I am told there are multiple scenes, still not clear on what exactly that means, but there are multiple scenes, I have been told. We also are hearing out here, no official confirmation right now, but we are hearing from police sources that the shooter is dead. It's unclear whether that individual shot themselves or if they were shot by perhaps a law enforcement officer or another individual. Also, as you all have been reporting, we have heard here on scene that an officer was wounded, and we're still trying to get information as to the circumstances surrounding that. But I can tell you, as I was making my way here, there were just dozens and dozens of police cars, Georgia State Patrol, APD, DeKalb County, several jurisdictions rolling here on scene. Reports of the active shooter here in the area of the CDC, and everyone came at once.
Okay, Deidre, some really, really important information that you just gave us. You broke some news here in that you're reporting that the shooter is dead and that there may be not one, but multiple scenes in the area?
That is what I'm hearing from police sources. We are still waiting to get that information confirmed. As you know, during a very fluid situation scene as we are experiencing here now live on air, we're still working to gather information. But yes, that is what I have been told, that there appear to be multiple scenes, and that right now law enforcement officials are gathering all that information so they can provide us hopefully within the next half hour or so detailed information as to what transpired out here. Still no word on our end as far as other than that police officer. If anyone else was injured in this incident, we continue to work out here, but we are being kept back at a distance, understandably, as law enforcement works, Tom, initially to get the situation under control, and then to start to care for those, see to those who may be injured, gather witnesses up, collect evidence, do all the things that are done here immediately following a massive incident as we're seeing here on Clifton Road this afternoon.
Yeah, Deidre, and with the reporting that there may be multiple scenes involved here, does it appear that any resources are being moved away from the CVS, perhaps if that situation has now been resolved?
I am frankly, it's such a distance from the CVS that I just really can't see from our vantage point. I will say that you have officers clearing the area, you have cars leaving, but at the same time, again, you have cars, whether it be to replace those individuals who are leaving, you have cars arriving here at the same time. So really just very fluid out here right now.
All right, indeed, Deidre, we can see from our live pictures, but thanks for that information. Important information from Fox 5's Deidre Dukes there, not far from the scene where all of this is happening, that we have one person dead. And according to police, that person is the shooter in all of this. We also may perhaps have more than one scene here, not only at the CVS drugstore located right across the street from the CDC on Clifton Road, but perhaps other locations as well. Whether that means there's more than one suspect involved here, we don't know the answer to that question. What we do know about other casualties is that a police officer and somebody presumably inside the CVS who were hit by gunfire have been transported to Emory University Hospital, which is literally yards from where all of this is unfolding.
That's right. And we've also have confirmation that there have been gunshots that struck windows at the CDC. Our Russ Spencer just reported that information in the last 10 minutes or so, that it hit buildings 21 and 24, possibly building 18. We're still working to find out which buildings those are. Of course, the CDC does work in all sorts of different areas, so it's unclear if these buildings were targeted, if the suspect or suspects were trying to target a specific building, people doing specific work. It's all unclear. We do know there's a news conference that should be happening any minute now, and we're going to keep monitoring that. Hopefully we'll find out some more information, some more concrete details when we hear from law enforcement.
That's going to happen at the Kroger, which is just down the street, stone's throw away from where all this is happening on Clifton Road. Authorities will gather there to give us some more information. The Centers for Disease Control, a fortress of security, and you really got to hand it to police and first responders here, who not only put their lives at risk to get situations like this under control, but the response that we have seen out there has been extraordinary. Multi-jurisdictional response from Emory University. We've seen police departments far and wide responding to this scene to secure the situation and to neutralize the gunmen, at least one of them, who we now know one of them is dead. We don't know if there were one or more, since we heard that there might be more than one scene here, not only at the CVS drugstore, but perhaps other locations. We saw police training their weapons in that vacant, which is all that parking lot across the street there is always vacant. I've never seen a car parked in that parking lot, but we did see police stalking that area with their guns drawn. So whether somebody was in the woods or the forest, whether it was the gunman in the CVS, we don't know. We're still working to gather as much information and as quickly as possible and confirm it before we pass it along to you.
Also might be important to note, just last week, Dr. Susan Menares was just confirmed as the new director at the CDC. Unclear at this point whether she was there when all of this happened. But as we look into a motive for this, I'm sure, especially with the FBI being involved now in the early stages of an investigation, they're going to look at all of those potential things in the suspect's past, their history, if this could be some kind of a political related incident.
Well, I heard, and perhaps if our executive producer, Cal Calloway, is still in the newsroom, I just happened to be in the newsroom overhearing. He was dispatching an assignment to Kevin Stewart, one of our reporters, about the CDC director perhaps visiting that campus on Monday, that she would be available for an interview with us on Monday. And I don't know if I heard correctly, maybe I didn't, but you have to wonder if something like that is going to change in the wake of what's happening here. You also have to wonder if the White House is keyed in on all of this, whether President Trump has been briefed, since this is such a high-profile federal institution, on what's happening. Police vehicles are streaming out of the Centers for Disease Control entrance right now. We see Fulton County Police there also on the scene. As I mentioned, this has turned into a multi-jurisdictional situation as police work to hopefully wrap up, which has been a very volatile scene, which has been unfolding for a good part of the past 90 minutes here.
That's right. And just to recap how this all started, it came in just after 5 with an alert from Emory University. Close proximity to the scene where this is happening at the CVS at Emory Point just after 5 o'clock. An alert was sent out by the university telling people that there was an active shooter situation and to run, hide, fight. It was then that we started to see this massive law enforcement presence focusing around the building. At one point, we saw officers with guns drawn. They were taking cover behind a dumpster there as they focused in on the building. And here's a map just just showing you an overhead view to really just highlight what we're looking at here. There at the top left of your screen is Emory Point. That is where the CVS is. This is where it appears to have all happened. And then just across the street, the CDC headquarters, and then also a stone's throw is Emory University's campus. So all of these things just intertwined. And also just a few minutes ago, our Deidre Duke said that she is hearing from her law enforcement sources that there may be multiple scenes involved.
I mean, if you've ever driven in this area, especially in the morning, you might have an appointment at Emory University, a doctor's appointment, or something going on there. You know how busy this area is. I mean, there is traffic along the Clifton Road corridor at all times, and that CVS services a really busy area of DeKalb County, the North Druid Hills area, where you have people coming out of the hospital or the doctor's offices. You have people living in that community which surround the CVS. You have the Centers for Disease Control, which, given that this happened just before 5 o'clock this evening, many of the regularly scheduled employees would have been letting out at this time. And we showed you the pictures not too long ago of the bullet impacts on the windows of the CDC building. And we can only presume, based on the height of the office that we were looking at here, that it was in that main building there. This is a picture that somebody from inside the CDC sent us of the impact of that bullet. We just don't know if the CDC was a target. In other words, we don't know if guns were trained on this building. These long rifles have the ability to impact things pretty significantly. So whether it was targeted or not, we just don't know at this point, but we're getting reaction from the governor at this point, Governor Brian Kemp, who released a statement saying that twice this week, deranged criminals have targeted innocent Georgians. Each time, brave first responders rush toward the danger to subdue the shooter and save lives, reminding us of just how crucial they are. Marty, the girls, and I are thankful to all those who answered the call to serve and who protect their fellow Georgians. We ask that you join us in holding them in our prayers, along with those harmed this evening near the CDC center. That from Governor Brian Kemp, who obviously has been very keyed into this whole situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Also, something we've been talking about is that green roof line right there. You see right there on the right-hand side of your screen. That is the daycare center that is attached in a way to the CDC campus, and we had it confirmed that those shots that were fired that hit a window in the building hit building 24, which is directly behind where this daycare center is located. Still not confirmed whether there were children there at the time, but again, the hours that they typically operate, according to their website, extend until 6 o'clock tonight. So just a really scary situation, to be sure, if there were in fact children in that daycare center.
You can see a police presence there, still on the roadway at Clifton Road. Our Eric Perry has been posted, if you will. He was one of the first reporters on the scene. Eric, you've been giving us some tremendous perspective of the police response there and the robustness of police presence in emergency vehicles. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, Tom, hello. So I made that pilgrimage up that hill there to get closer to the scene with my photographer, Scott Simpson. Take a look here, an immense presence here by law enforcement officers from all over Metro Atlanta. Of course, you have Atlanta police here on the scene, but you have DeKalb. You also have Chamblee, Brookhaven. I see Sandy Springs from each and every corner, and I have seen representatives from the FBI here on the scene as well. So I'm going to direct my photographer. I want to take them all the way up. Do you see where that number 2 is at that red light there? Take a look at that scene. That is to the left, is where that CVS is. A lot of the action is focused, it seems like, there. On that scene, there are apartment complexes that are above that CVS, and of course, there are different businesses as well. You can see police tape, and of course, I believe that is a SWAT unit. I saw a DeKalb County SWAT unit racing up through here earlier as well. Then let's take them out. If you see some Grady ambulances as well to the left, you can see a huddle, probably the command unit, but still a very active scene here on this area. And then closer down is still a sea, and there's still people coming in, swapping out as they're getting ready for that press conference not too far from here as well. Just a perspective, this is probably about half a mile, maybe a little bit further than half than Briarcliff when you're coming up to Clifton. On the opposite side is that entrance to the CDC Center is where you can really see a lot of that as well. You can see an ambulance turning around. I'm not sure if there's anyone in it or if they're preparing anyone to be transported inside or if they're just mobilizing and parking that to the side. But there is still an immense presence here. And you can still see a helicopter, which I believe law enforcement helicopter. I don't believe that is one of our news helicopters, pretty close to the ground that's still been circling around this area as well. They are still telling people if you have to come to this area, you need to find somewhere else to go. This will last 4 hours. It is safe to say here closer to the scene. Tom, Courtney, just wanted to walk you through what we're seeing as we had an advantage closer to Briarcliff, but now we're able to really get eyes from the ground view here as well. So a lot happening behind me.
Important that you mention, Eric, that just because the situation has been neutralized in terms of the possible shooter, that as you mentioned, the investigation is really just beginning, so it's anyone's guess how long this, as we said, busy corridor of Clifton Road linking Briarcliff to Emory University is going to remain shut down.
Yeah, Tom, you mentioned that. So where I was earlier, where I wasn't able to go up any further, there were people there who lived in that apartment complex. They sent out some kind of coordination saying, it's not, you can't come in. They're not going to let you in and out, even if you do live there. I also, on my walk up, I passed by a couple of express buses. So this happened around 4 o'clock. Many of those buses coming in, taking those workers who live here at CDC or maybe Emory University or that hospital. Several of those buses are just parked to the side there. They can't go up any further, and they're kind of stuck in this scene here for quite some time. Not sure if there were anybody on those buses, but I saw those bus drivers standing up. Hey, Scott, do me a favor. Get ready. If you can, take it off for me and point back through there. You can see a procession of what looks like SWAT vehicles coming up through here, just showing that people are still coming in and out as well. So that looks like a pretty big truck that's going to be parading up to this scene as they just add on to the dozens of law enforcement officers that are already up here as well. I can't tell from this distance who they belong to, but just to show you that they're still just getting started. More police vehicles are coming in. I believe that might be Atlanta police, but of course they are starting to come in, and let's see where they park those vehicles here. We'll keep an eye on it, Tom, Courtney, but I just wanted to show you that before I left.
Yeah, remarkable to see that law enforcement continues to arrive on this scene now 2 hours almost into this developing situation, Eric. And just in the last 2 minutes, we're seeing an alert sent out from Emory University. They're saying a police emergency continues on the campus at Emory Point. Avoid the area now. Shelter in place has been lifted. So just kind of holds together with what we were seeing just about 20 to 30 minutes ago, where they were saying this is still very much an active situation.
I think at this point, they just want people to stay away as this investigation continues to unfold. This is a traffic camera, we believe, on Clifton Road, which showing a still active police presence. Given the high-profile nature of where all this happened, and the fact that we have an officer shot and another person, at least one other person, injured by gunfire, and here we have the Centers for Disease Control right across the street. This is going to be an investigation, Russ Spencer, that takes quite some time.
No doubt about that, Tom. I've been sitting here at the live desk watching this very camera. It's a G-dot camera, as you point out, at Clifton Road and CDC Parkway. On the bottom right of your screen right there is a SWAT vehicle, an armored vehicle that pulled up about 10 minutes ago and is right next to that body under the sheet. Whether they're going to remove that, we don't know. But everything that we're witnessing seems to confirm what Deidre Dukes has reported, that the shooter is dead, that there are multiple scenes. Perhaps that refers to the fact that multiple CDC buildings have bullet holes in them, appear to have been shot at. And as we look at that top left of your screen there, that G-dot camera, I'll report to you that about 10 minutes ago, I saw at least 24 police officers go down CDC Parkway toward the daycare center that Courtney has been referencing. Whether they weren't running, there was no urgency other than the fact that they were a phalanx of at least 24 officers who went down CDC Parkway toward the CDC, perhaps to investigate these buildings having been shot at.
Yeah, Russ, and you have to wonder, and I was going to ask Eric Perry about this, and it's unfair really to ask you, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud, and perhaps you can do that with me. What became of the employees inside the CDC who hadn't left for the day yet, or the people that might live in that apartment building above the CVS drugstore, or as Courtney mentioned, perhaps there's still children inside the daycare. I mean, there's just so much happening on Clifton Road, and are people sheltering in place? Are they being allowed to leave CDC for the day, leave work? It's Friday afternoon, and
right. Well, I have some new information, Tom, that was just handed to me here at the live desk from DeKalb County Government Communications, which will offer some comfort to people who live in the area. Law enforcement currently responding to an incident involving an armed individual on or near the Emory University campus in DeKalb. The situation is contained, and there is no active threat to the public at this time. This, again, from DeKalb County Government Communications. We are asking all residents and members of the campus communities to remain indoors as a precaution while the investigation continues. Out of an abundance of caution and in the interest of public safety, we are also requesting news media outlets. Well, that's what happens with phones. It turned off. To move out of the way. So there you go. But that's the
most important information out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, that'll be reassuring information for people in that area who may be wondering, is my window next? They're saying now that the threat has been neutralized. I'm sure a lot of people who live there or possibly work there will be breathing a sigh of relief.
Skyfox 5 flying over the scene right now. I just saw our transmitter tower, and that was kind of an interesting shot because it gives you an idea of just how close the Fox 5 studios are.
Them looking over in the bushes to make sure that they are combing through any type of evidence or any type of thing that might be happening, in talking with a lot of the people who might have been in the area when all of this unfolded. Tom, Courtney?
It has to be such a relief to parents like the gentleman you spoke with to know that their kids are okay. Just knowing that this was a shooting where there were bullet holes that hit windows as far as we can see, and that we have confirmed that one of them hit a window that is located in the building directly behind, within view of the daycare center. Did this man tell you if he's been told if there is a staging area, or were there directions given for parents to get their kids who are still sheltering in the daycare center?
He has not. He said that I saw him talking to an officer, and the officer told him to stay right here in the area. That's why he really didn't want to move. But you can still hear some sirens coming in as people are coming in and out. But he really he was told to stay here in this area. I'm assuming there are probably other parents who are nearby or close, or maybe on the other side of where this scene is, trying to get to their child as well, Courtney.
So, Eric, people really aren't being allowed through that scene yet. I mean, they still have it blocked off, whether you have a kid that might be in the daycare center or not. We can presume that the parents have been communicated with, that their kids are okay. But you can imagine that, the frayed nerves out there as they just want to give their child a big hug and thank the Lord that they weren't involved somehow in this melee, this fatal melee that happened earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, he was just really grateful to get that message. He said that his child was going to be okay. Our Kim Luffler, who is at the hospital, she sent in an email of a screenshot because where that CVS is, which is on the other side, that there are different studios. There's an Orange Theory there. There are eateries there. There's a ballet studio there. They've been canceling classes because, as you can see, no one's able to come in, and I haven't seen a lot of people leaving this area as well. So if you have any type of business that's up there, you can expect those canceled classes, those canceled reservations. They're not letting anyone near that scene, Tom. This is as close as we've been able to get, and those on the other side of the tape, they're not going to be able to get any closer to that CVS or really this area.
Yeah, it's been a literal blockade, if you will, Eric, as we can see from the perspective of your camera there, and being one of the first reporters there on the scene in the early going, you just fired up your cell phone and you showed us what was going on in the early moments after this shooting unfolded just before 5 o'clock this afternoon. To give you a quick recap, just located within a mile of our studios here at Fox 5 and directly across the street from the Centers for Disease Control, at least one gunman opening fire there at the CVS drugstore, which is located feet away from the CDC, just across the street. We know that that suspect is dead. We saw from our helicopter earlier the body being brought out of the drugstore underneath a white sheet. We know that at least one civilian victim and one police officer have been transported to Emory University Hospital, which you could walk to from the CVS drugstore there on Clifton Road to be treated. We heard something about surgery involving the officer. We're working to learn more information about that. We are expecting a news conference from officials from the Kroger parking lot, which, if you've driven Clifton Road, you know that there's an uphill to the CVS from Briarcliff. Well, Kroger's just downhill from that area and very close in proximity to where all of this unfolded.
Yeah, this is all happening, of course, in an area that is just highly populated, densely populated with, as Eric mentioned, dance studios, restaurants. There are apartments on the upper levels in that same Emory Point Center where the CVS is located. And so now we're understanding that that shelter-in-place order has been lifted and that the threat has been neutralized. Good to report that the children who were in the daycare center that's on the CDC campus are okay. Our Eric Perry is there and talked with a father who's still waiting to pick up his child, but sure to be a relief for him and many other parents who are still waiting to pick up their kids. Although it might take some time, as there are so many streets that are blocked off with this massive police presence that's still there in the area.
And so a couple of elements that we got into the Fox 5 newsroom. One of them was a gunshot that struck the CDC headquarters building across the street. And we know of at least one impact here. Take a look at that. And if you can see out the window how high that bullet went before it impacted the window there. These are obviously impact resistant windows. And so the bullet, as far as we know, didn't penetrate the window, but we know that buildings 21 at the CDC, 24, and perhaps building 18 were impacted by gunfire. What we still don't know is if that was an intended target or was just this a lunatic on the loose inside the CVS drugstore.
But again, as we've talked about, it's hard to believe that a bullet could be a stray bullet striking that high and on a building that's across the street from the CVS where the shooter, we understand, was located. Here is what Governor Brian Kemp is saying in reaction to the shooting. He said this: twice this week, deranged criminals have targeted innocent Georgians. Each time, brave first responders rushed toward the danger to subdue the shooter and save lives, reminding us just how crucial they are. Marty, the girls, and I are thankful for all those who answer the call to serve and who protect their fellow Georgians. We ask that you join us in holding them in our prayers, along with those harmed this evening near the CDC Center. So Governor Kemp obviously referring to that shooting we saw at Fort Stewart earlier this week, in which 5 soldiers were shot by their fellow soldier. Thankfully, those soldiers pulled through. They were injured, of course, but also the CEO of DeKalb County is also responding to this situation. Here's her statement: "My thoughts and prayers are with all those affected by today's incident on the Emory campus. I am grateful for the swift and coordinated response from our law enforcement agencies and first responders. We are closely monitoring the situation and will provide updates as they become available. She says this: I urge everyone to stay alert, remain indoors, and follow official guidance as we allow law enforcement to complete their investigation. So we continue to see this very large police presence there in the area. You see them still lining the street up and down Clifton Road. That is the street that divides the CVS there on the left. You can see the daycare center that we've been referring to there on the right on the CDC campus. And our Eric Perry, who is there on the ground, said just a few minutes ago he saw a SWAT vehicle head in the direction of the CDC campus with some of their SWAT team members there on the back of the truck.
And we mentioned, Courtney, you pointed out earlier that there's a daycare center right there, just feet away from where all of this unfolded. We saw some concerned parents waiting there, perhaps to collect their children. We know that that wasn't involved in this situation, mercifully. So we showed you the element where the bullet, presumably from a long rifle, hit the CDC. I want to play for you, and if we still have that sound in the control room, I'll give you a second to cue that up. What we heard in the moments when all of this unfolded, we heard the warning sirens wail earlier, and we caught some sound of that in the early stages of all of this unfolding. Listen to this. That was an alert siren put out in the CDC area. This is the backyard of Fox 5, just to give you an idea of how close we are to where all of this unfolded and why our reporters were among the first there on the scene to report on what was going on in the early moments of when all of this chaos and confusion unfolded there in the CVS drugstore across the street from the CDC. We know that gunman has been neutralized, is dead, and we know that 2 casualties, including at least 1 police officer, have been transported to Emory University Hospital to be treated.
Yeah, and this quick update here from Atlanta Police. They're now saying that the incident involved a single shooter who is now deceased. 1 law enforcement officer was injured, as we know. Let's get out to our Eric Perry. He's been standing by there on the ground. Eric, what's the latest there?
Yeah, so you mentioned that I saw some SWAT officers on the back of a truck. They went into that CDC as well. I've been messaging several of my sources who work at the CDC. One of them told me they left right before all of this happened, but several of their colleagues are still inside. So we can maybe presume that maybe they're going to do a sweep inside that CDC to get those people out safely. But this all happened as people were wrapping up working or their work day here on a Friday. But I'm told that there still are people inside of the CDC that we're still sheltering in place, still on lockdown. So it is safe to presume that maybe they're going inside to bring them out safely. I'm looking over. I saw that father who was standing right there. He went to the other side there. I'm not sure if he got any new information or maybe was able to be reunited with his child there. But again, we are learning that there's still several employees that might still be inside that CDC sheltering in place during all of this. And I'm asking to see just exactly what that siren was. Did that come from the CDC or was that something that Emory implemented as well? So we'll work to get that information for you, Courtney and Tom.
All right, great reporting there, Eric Perry, one of the first reporters on the scene there, letting us know that there are still employees inside the CDC headquarters, you know, waiting to go home on a Friday night, you know, thanking God that they're safe, but probably anxious to get home to their loved ones and give everyone a big hug. Fox 5's Russ Spencer out in the newsroom collecting more information. Russ, what do you know?
Well, Tom and Courtney, you've done an excellent job recapping how all of this unfolded. I just want to add some perspective from the very beginning of this at 5 o'clock when we had Sky Fox over the scene. You talk about an active shooter situation. There were DeKalb police officers huddled behind their vehicle that was riddled literally with dozens of bullets. This was the scene earlier as they came up into that parking lot, and this is what I'm talking about, hiding behind that vehicle. Do you see all the bullet holes in the windshield and in the front of that vehicle? That was the confrontation. So as we reflect on this, the active shooter situation is over. Again, the shooter has been neutralized, but this could have been a lot worse because that person was armed and ready to go and had a large weapon. We'll keep that officer in our prayers and keep you up to date as we learn more about his condition as he's in surgery as we speak, and the civilian for that matter. Tom and Courtney, back to you.
Yeah, you said it, Russ. This could have been so much worse, especially with more students in the area. If this had happened in a few weeks, there would have been a lot more people on the campus as classes would have started for the fall session. So as we continue to learn more details, it'll just paint the picture of maybe what was avoided here. And we are awaiting a news conference that should happen at any moment at the Kroger. And there it is. You can see the setup for it. I'm sure we'll find out more about at least what police are willing to share with us at this point. It is, of course, early in their investigation.
Yeah, we'll be very curious to know more about the deceased suspect here and his motives, obviously, his or her motives, what led up to all this, and the conditions, most importantly, of the officer who was shot and the other victim, who we understand are both being treated at Emory Hospital. At this time, we're going to take our at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that's going to be quite an event, so we know our viewers are going to be keyed into that. Meanwhile, we're going to continue to monitor this situation unfolding at Emory because there's still a lot of moving parts and so many unanswered questions.
So many unanswered questions, and of course, if you're a parent like this man that Eric Perry has been talking with, you're just desperate to get reunited with your child, but that's a huge relief to know that all the kids are safe there at that daycare center. Of course, residents, you know, might be relieved who live in this area as well now that that shelter in place has been lifted. But this is a scene that I'm sure will stay in place for quite some time as police have to gather the evidence and just kind of wrap things up there after the threat has been neutralized. But again, Atlanta police now confirming that there was only one shooter involved in this and that person is deceased. One DeKalb County officer shot, multiple shots fired there at a police vehicle. Someone has been transported to Emory University Hospital. And again, we're going to continue to stay on top of this situation on Fox Local and on fox5atlanta.com. And again, we will direct you here now to that preseason game, Atlanta Falcons, first preseason game of the season. But if you'd like to continue to follow our coverage of the shooting, you can join us on fox5atlanta.com or Fox Local for your smartphone or smart TV. Thank you so much for being with us.
Good night.
All right, Fox 5 Atlanta there. Great coverage of this extremely scary situation unfolding there on the campus of Emory University in downtown Atlanta. I'm Andrew Kraft. You're back here on LiveNOW. You've been watching Fox 5 Atlanta's coverage of this situation here. So we're going to take it from here. We do remember have this live picture. Take a look at this. We're waiting for this press conference to begin there in this Kroger parking lot. So if you're just getting up to speed on this story, here's what we know. Police were responding today to a report of an active shooter on the campus of Emory University near the entrance there to the CDC. This is all in the same vicinity. Now you saw pictures there of some of those windows in the CDC's headquarters with bullet holes in them. Employees at the CDC saying bullets struck the windows of several buildings on the federal agency's campus. Now, we are getting reports that the suspect is dead and that an officer has been injured in this shooting. So that is all we know right now. We don't really have many details as to when this press conference might begin. Let's show you. We still have some of our aerial pictures on the scene here. Let's take this. The signal hasn't been the best. Bear with us here. Okay, it's going to stabilize, hopefully. So outside that CVS pharmacy there at that intersection, that's Clifton Road, according to our Fox 5 colleagues. Also, Fox 5 Atlanta's station, their headquarters, they're right there as well. This is a stone's throw from them to what Russ Spencer has been saying. And then the CDC is on the other side of the street there, the entrance to the federal agency there in Atlanta. So what we're doing right now, we are waiting for this press conference to begin. We've heard from a lot of officials there in Georgia, including Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. We know the FBI field office in Atlanta. They're assisting with this. This is, like I said, multi-jurisdictional. A lot of these different law enforcement agencies are on scene. And you saw scores of law enforcement vehicles, hundreds of law enforcement officials descending on that scene there. We've been on this story for about now, what, 2 hours, going on 2.5 hours here. We have this safety update from Atlanta Police. Let's take this. This is from minutes ago. They say this: there is no ongoing threat to the Emory campus or the surrounding neighborhood. The incident involved a single shooter who is now deceased. One law enforcement officer was injured in the course of the response, saying, "Please avoid the area as the scene remains active and law enforcement continues its investigation. We thank you for your cooperation and will provide updates as more information becomes available." So that is the latest update there from Atlanta Police. Also responding here, DeKalb County, as well as several other local law enforcement jurisdictions to this scene today. We also have this, remember, we're waiting for this press conference to begin. We also have another vantage point here, and we're going to take this very briefly. We have one outside of one of these local hospitals there in the region. So take a look at this. I'm not entirely sure what hospital that is. Oh, it's Emory University Hospital. So that's a live vantage point outside Emory University Hospital. We also have a ground shot there. Take a look at this. Still a very, very active scene, but Emory University saying that the scene is contained, the situation is over, that the shelter-in-place order has been lifted. So while we wait for the press conference, just wanted to set the scene now that we're a little past the top of this new hour. I'm Andrew Kraft. So our colleagues, like they said, like they promised, at Fox 5 in Atlanta, they are still going with this breaking news coverage. Let's get back out to them right now.
Combing through, reuniting those children, but also those employees that are still inside of the building as well. Of course, we are still waiting for the official news conference that's going to take place, which is a nearby distance. But this is probably a half of a mile on Clifton Road, up Clifton Road. If you were coming down Briarcliff, if you're familiar with this area near Emory, there's a QT, there is a barbecue restaurant that's up there. This entire half a mile still lined with nothing but police officers. Again, you're not allowed to go up to where we are right here, and there are apartments, there are eateries that are up here as well. I'm going to just do a little walk and talk. Scott Simpson, my photographer here, I know you're still talking, but you were in the parking lot. I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but just walk me through a little bit what you heard, because you were standing outside. This is very close to our studios.
Just a succession of very loud, rapid gunshots, multiple times. I heard it for like 7 or 8 minutes before I finally heard a siren and was like, something's going on. That's not construction. That's not just random city noise. And as soon as I got in, we were told there was an active shooter situation over here. So I jumped in my car, came over here, and this is multiple police cars had us pull over to get off the road so they could go around, armored vehicles. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Scott was one of the first photographers here. That's why he's so close to the scene, giving us a ground view here. But of course, Tom, we'll be monitoring the situation from the ground. We're not seeing anything as of yet that has changed. We still see people kind of standing around, but just wanted to give you that because he heard those gunshots. And then I posted to my X account, viewer sent in gunshots as well. So you can hear a visual. Maybe we can get that queued up at some point during this broadcast to just show you these are not, fireworks. This was something that if you heard it, you knew something was going on, Tom.
Yeah, Eric, you've brought us some extraordinary perspective from the moments this whole melee unfolded. Eric Perry, thanks so much. In the beginning of the situation, we thought that these two victims, the officer and presumably somebody who was inside the CVS, were going to be transported to Grady Memorial Hospital since it is a level 1 trauma center. But with Emory University Hospital just literally feet away, we understand that the two victims were brought there. And that is where we find Fox 5's Kim Loeffler. Kim, you're originally at Grady. Now you're there at Emory University. What can you tell us about the treatment of those two individuals?
Well, when we first got on scene here, I am still waiting to get an update about the treatment of the two individuals. But we saw a lot of people leaving the hospital right when I got to the hospital here. And we spoke with one gentleman who told us that he was here visiting his mother, and he went on lockdown for about an hour and 20 minutes. It was about 6:50 that they actually were let out of the hospital here. He was told that there was an active shooter, which is why that was happening. He told me he did not want to be a victim, and his mother was in the hospital here. He said she was asleep, so she missed it, but at the same time he was certainly concerned for his and her safety. But you can see this is Clifton Road right here. You can see the amount of DeKalb County police officers and police units that are here at this point. We're starting to see, we've stopped seeing quite as many people coming out of the hospital at this hour, but it was a good stream of people for about 5-10 minutes or so as that lockdown is lifted. But certainly a very significant police presence. And actually just down the road from Emory Hospital, where we are right now, right by that CVS where Eric Perry is, right across from that CVS is a dance studio. It's actually the one that I attend, and they sent us all out an alert saying that all of the classes that were being held there were canceled tonight because of all this activity. They had a few classes scheduled for Friday evening, but that the studio is closed tonight due to this shooting. So certainly we're still waiting to get an update on the condition of the officer and the people brought to this location, and we will of course keep you updated as we learn more.
Kim, you've no doubt covered police-involved shootings at Grady, where multi-jurisdictional police show up to support officers who've been fired at and injured by gunfire and who are being treated. Do you see that same kind of presence there at Emory University Hospital, a place that on a daily basis wouldn't necessarily receive a gunshot victim, but in this case, given the proximity just down the street from the CDC and the CVS where all this happened, these two people were brought to?
Yeah, well, certainly, again, as we pan off to Clifton Road, you can see the amount of police units that are here. I'm seeing mainly DeKalb County police vehicles. I don't see too many other units here just in this section of Clifton Road where we are, but you can see it's entirely lined with police units. There certainly is that response that you were mentioning when an officer is shot and is recovering, as we are seeing here at this hour. But I want to take you to that gentleman that we spoke with a little bit earlier, who was evacuating after being locked down here at the hospital for about an hour and 20 minutes. Take a listen.
Oh, while we were sitting there waiting with my mother, we heard the sirens going, we heard the helicopters going, and they had us wait for about an hour and a half on lockdown. And then we heard several more sirens. So we didn't know what happened. Then I turned on the TV to see what the news said, and here it was, an active shooter. Then they didn't know how many people were being active, if it was a group or what.
And you guys just got out now?
We just now getting out. They don't even have it where we can get our cars. We have to walk over now because this system is shut down. So now we got to walk over here to find out what we need to do next.
And so where were you in the hospital when you guys
I
were
was on the
down?
7th floor, and they locked the whole 7th floor down. You couldn't go out, or you couldn't leave or come in.
Oh, wow. So were you in the hallway, in a room?
In the room.
Okay.
Yep, they made sure all the doors were locked.
Were you with your mother in the
I
room
was with my
her?
mother.
Okay.
Yes.
How was she doing through all this?
She was asleep.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. That's the way to be.
Yeah, she was asleep, so. Yeah.
Did they tell you it was an active shooter at that
Yes.
point? Okay.
Yes, and as we were leaving, they didn't hear it that it had been lifted, but the guy that was in the room with me, they sent in a text on his phone that it was lifted. So that's how we found out.
What was going through your head when this was happening?
I don't want to be a victim. That was it. Didn't want to be a victim, no part of it. So I'm on my way home.
I'm sure you're relieved to be out and be going home.
And the funniest thing is, never come to Clifton Road, always go to Midtown. First time.
Jeez.
Won't be back.
Yeah, certainly some frightening moments for everyone here at Emory University Hospital, and we are certainly expecting to see this police presence here and for a while now, and certainly waiting still, as I mentioned, to get an update on the officer's condition. But of course, as soon as we get that, we'll bring it right to you.
Just can't imagine what it must have been like in those moments as he described how they locked the doors, they didn't let anyone in or out. I mean, that holds together with what we've heard from the Emory University campus and the CDC, that they really went into lockdown as the situation was unfolding. But, you know, he said, I won't be back. Now, of course, you can't confirm, you just can't control these kinds of things from happening. But you can understand why he's not really leaving a great review.
Kim, wondering if I'm trying to look over your shoulder, if the area, are people able to access and egress the hospital complex on North Decatur Road behind you? Because we know that, you know, on the other side of Clifton, it's like completely shut down. So what's the situation behind you in terms of coming in and out?
Well, when we were driving up onto Clifton Road here, you can see cars kind of coming in and out. The road is open. We had no problem driving up here earlier. Of course, we're asking people to, you know, avoid this area because you can see the amount of activity. But the roadway is open right by the hospital entrance where we are currently. So we're not seeing as, you know, wide of a road shutdown as it sounds like it's happening in other locations. But the road here is open right by the hospital entrance.
That's good to know, not only for emergency vehicles that need to get in there, Kim, but, you know, people have loved ones in the hospital who they want to see. So it's good to know that they can get in and out of there easily enough from North Decatur Road. Important to mention, not Briarcliff, that's shut down. This is a shot from our camera, which is poised up on the Fox 5 broadcast tower. And this is going to show you just how close the television station is to where all of this unfolded at the CVS drugstore across the street from the CDC headquarters. I mean, you can certainly walk there from here. And when our marketing manager, Rick Snyder, went out into the back of the parking lot to go home for the night, he heard the gunshots going off where all of this happened.
Yeah, it's so close to our building here. Our Russ Spencer was the one who interviewed Rick, talking about those first moments when this all started to transpire. Russ, if we can get Russ back now just to talk about just walking us through the timeline of how this all began, Russ.
Well, Courtney and Tom, it began around 5 o'clock this afternoon, and my first hint that something was wrong was when I saw Rick in the newsroom, and he was literally shaken. I'm told by our control room that this press conference is going to begin any moment now. We'll throw to that as soon as it does. In the meantime, I'll let you know that Rick heard 8 or 10 shots, and he apparently has experience in a gun range and knew immediately that they were long guns and came back very shaken. Our assumption was that perhaps this was at the CDC. Because you can see the CDC buildings from our back parking lot. As we got Skyfox 5 over the scene, we realized that it was across the street. The focus of police attention was across the street, across Clifton Road, and we were stunned immediately by the response from police and by the fact that they apparently were under fire, extreme fire, from someone inside that CVS. Huddled, cowering behind, I shouldn't say cowering, that suggests fear, although they'd be crazy if they weren't afraid to some extent. They were protecting themselves behind a DeKalb police vehicle that had gunshot wounds through the windshield, through the front of the car, to the extent that, okay, I'm told that the news conference is not going to happen at this moment, so we'll continue to let you know what happened in the early moments of this. Again, it began around 5 o'clock this afternoon, and DeKalb police officers were there in force, pointing their guns.
All right, Fox 5 Atlanta with great coverage there. What we do have right now, we have this shot on the ground, on the scene. Take a look at this. This is a live picture right now. Now, we just wanted to break out of Fox 5 Atlanta because we noticed this out of the corner of our eye. This is in the middle of the very, very active scene. You see there this gentleman, this white male in that short sleeve red plaid shirt, handcuffed. You see him there, handcuffed. Now, we don't know. We don't want to speculate. We just notice these moments that stick out to us during these major developing situations, like a shooting that we've been covering for the last 2.5 hours on the campus there of Emory University near the CDC headquarters. So not entirely sure why this individual is being apprehended by Atlanta police. What we do know is, according to Atlanta police, they tell us the suspect is dead in this shooting. But this caught our eye, and we had to break in because we saw this individual being apprehended. We're not entirely sure why. We don't know. He's being put into the back of this police cruiser here. And so we were, kind of waiting for Fox 5 Atlanta to break in with it. We didn't want to miss it. We didn't want him to be put in the vehicle without having shown you it. So, once again, I'm going to stipulate, we have no idea why that individual was just apprehended. And we do not want to make definitive links to that individual, to the scene or the story, but it caught our eye and we had to show it to you nonetheless here. So remember, we were told by Atlanta police that an officer has been injured in this shooting and that the suspect is dead. And of course, we're still waiting on a press conference to begin here. Not entirely sure when. No idea on the timetable for the press conference. Also, we do have some new video coming in from some of our Fox 5 Atlanta colleagues, including reporter Eric Perry. You've been recognizing him. He's been on the scene for some time. He was one of the first reporters on the scene. He obtained this video. This is what we call natural sound, natural video. You can hear the gunshots. Take a listen. Let's watch. Okay, so what we wanted to do, we played that video twice for you, but you heard the amount of gunshots that went off. That was that cell phone video. Looks like someone just captured it near their balcony of their apartment here. So had to get that to you. We're getting a lot of these new elements in as we continue to tell this story, this shooting outside of the CDC complex there near Emory University on the campus that was really located at that intersection where that CVS pharmacy was. So, like I said, we don't know when this press conference is going to begin, but let's get back out now to Fox 5 in Atlanta with more details.
What they know at this point in about 12 minutes.
You know, Russ, I don't know a whole lot about rifles. I don't know if you do. Rick obviously does because he heard the sound of what he described as long rifles.
Right.
But to make it from the CVS over the CDC campus and up to one of those windows, you have to imagine that that was one powerful rifle. I mean, and then we saw the impact that the bullet made in the window, the impact-resistant window. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
It is, and it seems unlikely that it was an accident, but perhaps police will be able to shed some light on that. Obviously, we're so early in the investigation, and we don't want to be offering up opinions or things that we have not confirmed. But I think it's fair to say, based on observing what's happened there at the CDC and the fact that as many as 3 buildings were hit, that doesn't sound like an accident.
No, indeed. And again, as you said, we just don't know if the CDC was an intended target or if this was just a crazy person on the loose inside of a CVS drugstore.
Yeah, but also scary that you'd be shooting over the daycare center to be able to leave a bullet hole in one of those buildings. I think it was building 24 that is located directly behind where that daycare center is, where we understand children are still there. We spoke with at least one father who's waiting to pick up his child. Let's get out to our Deidre Dukes. She's been talking with people near the scene of where this all happened. Deidre, what are you hearing?
As you can imagine, this has just been a very frightening, upsetting incident for anyone who was on lockdown in this area, who would come upon this scene and see, we still have fire trucks still making their way here, dozens of police cars, lights still flashing on scene, unmarked vehicles just police cars from several jurisdictions. While we were on, just within the past half hour or so, we saw GEMA arrive on scene, as well as the FBI, and also had some other jurisdictions coming into this area. As I said, just talking to people, some who were waiting here for their loved ones to actually walk out of the area that was for a great time on lockdown, and who remains on lockdown. We're told, you can see that the mayor, Mayor Andre Dickens, is in the area, of course, responding to this emergency to try to get some information as far as what is going on, what transpired. But as you might imagine, you had several people who arrived here to pick up loved ones and were unable to do anything other than wait and communicate with them on the phone, as this area was on total lockdown. Now, since the total lockdown has been released, we are seeing individuals starting to walk out on foot. Again, cars are not being allowed to travel in and out of the immediate area where that investigation is underway. But we talked to a young lady who actually was on lockdown, received one of those alerts, and called her mother, telling her mother what was going on. Her mother rushed here, and we talked to the mom as she was waiting here for her daughter, and then talked to her daughter once she was able to walk out and be reunited with her mother. And here's what they had to say. Miss Briggs, if you could just tell me how you found out what was going on.
My daughter lives right here at Emory Point and just called me. I was on my way to see her tonight and told me what was going on, that she just heard gunshots and that there was an active shooter and that they were on lockdown.
Yeah. What goes through your mind as a parent when you hear something like that, especially in today's times?
Fear. But, I mean, we told her just to stay away from the windows and to, be safe, don't open the door for anyone, and I'll be there soon.
As far as how the situation was handled, several alerts went out from CDC, the police, Emory. Just, your reaction to the response that we're seeing both on scene and just the way the various agencies and the hospitals and everybody handled this.
The communication was great. Her concern was a lot of different news stories and different channels and not sure what to believe. So I just told her, I'm like, well, I'll get there and I'll see what I can. If it looks safe, then you can come out. But she just heard all over that the suspect has been taken care of, and so that they're no longer on a lockdown and she can come out. But I can't go get to her, so now she has to walk to me.
Tell me a little bit about what happened this afternoon for you, from your perspective.
I was just sitting in my living room like a normal afternoon and heard gunshots, heard the siren safety alarm started going off, and one of my friends had sent me a screenshot that Emory had sent out, because I didn't really know what to think was going on.
The gunshots, were they popping rapidly? How would you describe it?
Popping, and I would say it was for longer than a minute. It wasn't just quick and it's over. It went on.
You heard it there from someone who was actually within the vicinity when those gunshots rang out. As you might imagine, terrifying for all those who are in the area. As you said, even there at our station, which is nearby, we had staff who heard that rapid gunfire and immediately returned to our newsroom. We can tell you that there are still a lot of people milling about out here who are either waiting for people or perhaps are not being allowed. I would imagine the closer you get to the actual crime scene itself, perhaps aren't being allowed back into their residences, as you have several residences here, in addition to the businesses and, of course, the area that is on lockdown where the crime happened. So right now, just still very active in this area. Police being very controlled situation as far as the traffic that they're allowing back and forth. And that's what we're seeing out here at this hour.
Yeah, Deidre, you're on the other side of where all this happened from where Eric is, closer to Emory University Hospital. Looks kind of like a quieter situation on that side of Clifton Road than Eric's side, where all of these officers staged their vehicles. We saw those SWAT vehicles rushing up that hill on Clifton Road toward the CVS. So it was quite a scene when all of this unfolded.
So much going on and so many different perspectives. As Deidre was out talking with people, you just imagine all the people that are related to that situation there, from the Emory community, from the CDC community. and otherwise. Now, we want to take you back to the moments when this first started unfolding, and we're just getting some new video into our newsroom now. We're going to actually just go ahead and stop talking so you can listen in, and we understand that you'll hear about 20 gunshots in this video. Let's take a listen.
Wow, that looks like it was taken from someone's apartment right on top of the CVS, okay? Because you have the CVS drugstore there in the corner, and then on top of the CVS, you have people's apartments. So this person opens their window and hears this. Can you imagine how terrified they were, but had the presence of mind to roll on this from their phone?
My goodness.
With traffic still going by the way.
Traffic driving by, and also, I mean, just think of the time it takes to pull out your phone and hit record. So there had to be more shots fired before what we saw. I counted 18 gunshots just in rapid succession.
So if you look on the left side of the screen, we have the perspective of the apartments. That person only had to be, like where that police car is, a couple of floors above. Like you can see where the little patio is there. And presumably, we showed you the picture of the CDC earlier where one of those bullets impacted the bullet-resistant window, or the impact-resistant window. But the sound of that rifle or long gun, which was described to us earlier, was just piercing.
Yeah, just really chilling video there. Let's get back out to our Russ Spencer, who's been just detailing some of the timeline of how all of this unfolded, Russ.
Well, again, we heard Eric Perry talk to a witness who heard that go on for 7 minutes. He said 7 or 8 minutes. It's hard even to imagine. And when you hear that, and then to hear that one officer has been shot and one other person has been wounded, but no one else, in all of those gunshots, that really is kind of remarkable as well. Okay, it's 7:27 on this Friday night. Mayor Andre Dickens and Atlanta Police Chief Darren Shearbaum are expected to address the media now in less than 3 minutes. We'll look forward to hearing from them at the Kroger at the corner of Clifton Road and Briarcliff. In the meantime, let me share with you some of the reaction from our elected officials here in Georgia. We heard from the governor earlier. The governor saying that he and Marty and the girls are keeping everyone in their prayers and are ready to respond. And here's what we have from Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr. On X, he says, "We are horrified by the news out of Emory University and praying for the safety of the entire campus community. We stand ready to assist our law enforcement partners with whatever they may need." And Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, he says, "I'm monitoring the active shooter incident at Emory closely. I'm praying for the officer who was injured and all students and faculty. I am devastated," he writes, "that our community is facing yet another tragedy of gun violence." Again, that from U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. So there we have the live picture up on the left-hand side of your screen. Clifton Road still closed, presumably will be for the rest of this evening as police investigate, given the enormity of what's happened there and the number of shots fired and the fact that as many as 3 buildings at the CDC may have been targeted. All right, I'm just getting news from our control room that the news conference that was initially scheduled for 7:15, pushed back to 7:30, has now been pushed back to 7:45. Like us, they want to get it right, and they certainly are entitled to the time to put it all together, to give us the fullest picture they can this early on as to what has happened. We do not have the identity of the shooter at this point. I have seen some folks on social media asking us to show the shooter's picture. We don't have it. We don't have an identity at this point. Perhaps police do. One would think that at this point they probably do. We'll find out here in about 15 minutes, Courtney and Tom.
Sorry, you were going to jump in?
Yeah, I'm just going back to that video where we saw what I counted as 18 shots in rapid succession. And going back to our marketing director, Rick Snyder, who had a sort of a firsthand view of this when the sirens went off. He was in our back parking lot and heard sirens after the gunshots, which he also heard. He described it as what sounded like a long gun, some kind of a rifle. But it'll be interesting to find out what kind of magazine, what kind of capability that firearm had to be able to fire 18 shots in succession like that. I'm not sure that police will be able to give us that information this soon when they do come out and speak at the news conference. But that is one of the questions that I would have, because it just didn't sound like there was time to reload in between the 18 shots that I counted.
If I could read, because we're coming to you on our streaming app, Fox Local, which of course then proliferates and goes across many platforms, including YouTube, where a lot of people are watching us now. Somebody commented that they heard the gunshots and it sounded like a hammer beating on something, and that's a good way to describe the intensity of the sound that came from that gun. It's just so loud and so intense that, you know, it could pierce right through you. Or if you were in that area, or like the person who had the presence of mind to take out their phone, given the danger that they might have found themselves in, to roll on that. While we wait for this news conference, do you want to play the gunshots once again? Because that brings this whole thing into perspective. So let's listen. So that video taken from one of the apartments above the CVS where all of this happened just before 5 o'clock this afternoon. A police officer and another victim were transported to Emory University Hospital, which is just a walk up the street toward North Decatur Road, only yards away from where that happened. Thank goodness medical response teams were so close. You have the CDC campus right across the street, a heavily fortified institution there, federal property, heavily guarded, and so the response of officers was rapid and quick, and their ability to neutralize the shooter. We now know that it was one gunman involved here, was impressive to say the least. We're just so glad that there were no other casualties reported, and so now I'm guessing because the CDC is across the street, it's a federal building, and that's why you had the FBI coming in there, federal investigators.
Fairly early on, I might add.
Right,
too.
yeah, right out of the gates when all of this happened.
And so much to secure. Again, we were getting that video from someone who was taking the video from their apartment. So many people who actually live in this area, and I can't imagine how that must feel to be ordered to shelter in place during a situation like this in your home. Let's get back out to our Eric Perry, who's been there on the ground. Eric, what are things like there now?
Hey, Courtney, Tom, Russ, everyone back there at the studio. So I'm talking on the phone to someone who lives right above that CVS. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. You're talking with us now in the air. We really do appreciate it. Walk us through when you heard those gunshots there and really what all happened.
Yeah, so I thought it was like fireworks or like construction. It was like an hour and a half ago. I'm guessing they were from like a machine gun because it was just in rapid succession. It went on for like over a minute, just like one after the other. I thought it was like, it must have been a drill or something. There were like sirens going off. I looked outside and obviously I didn't think it was like super dangerous, so I fully like stepped out on the terrace, like up my balcony to like look, and there were like guys in uniform with like machine guns and stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna head back inside.
Now, did you see any of the